Hi Keith, how are you doing?
Hello, hi.
Hey, how's it
I'm
going?
good. I'm
How's it
good.
going? So great. We'll get started in a couple of moments. I guess more and more people are joining in.
Okay.
Just some housekeeping rules for everyone before we get started. I can see a couple of people who've joined us in the sessions before as well, so they're probably aware. But what we'll be doing is we'll just be having, a brief kind of informal, candid conversation with Keith. And what I'll be doing is just giving two, three questions to kind of get the arguments and conversation rolling. And then, of course, you guys are completely free to ask your questions on the Q&A section or on the chat. We'll be moderating the questions. And just as we've had in previous alumni sessions, one big request from my end to you is any admissions or any placements or process or logistics related stuff. I'd encourage you to keep that to other webinars or other sessions. For the session today, let's just limit our questions to Keith's experiences and his time at Masters Union. So with that having been said, I guess we are, slowly growing in participants. And Keith, to let you know, participants today are people who've either completed their application or are almost on the verge of doing so. So people are very keen to join Masters Union that are on this call. And, maybe we can start. I just want to say thanks for taking out, 12 to 1 on a Saturday and, talking to our prospective applicants. And I think maybe we can start with a brief introduction about yourself and, people can get to know a bit more about you.
All right, sounds good. Hi, everyone. Am I audible, Karan? Is it?
Yes, yes. All
Yeah,
good.
fine. All right. So, hi, my name's Keith. Cohort of 21 was very interesting. Prior to that, graduated from St. Xavier's College, Mumbai, in humanities. Post which I started writing for a lot of theater companies. So I got into the theater space. From there, I was a copywriter at several ad agencies. Did that whole gambit, went into production and edit and the larger marketing space. In the middle, I thought I wanted to be a scuba diver. So I became an advanced scuba diver. And then I came back into advertising. And that's been my career so far, right? My last stint was at Dentsu Aegis Network, which is an
Mm,
advertising network based in
mm,
Bombay. And that's when I found out about Masters Union. I knew that I wanted to get my management education done. And for me, very honestly, the onset of the pandemic and subsequently what happened to media industries across the board seemed like the perfect, 16 months, 17 months to devote to a management education program. And that was the start of my journey at Masters Union. Currently, right now, I'm working at Niyo Solutions, which is a Neo bank. I'm
mm.
working as a senior brand manager here. Started in at the end of November, and so it's been what 2.5, 3 months now. Uh, that's
Awesome.
that's my story.
That's a great, that's a great journey to kind of hear. And maybe, just my two, three questions to get the conversation rolling and
Right.
as and when people can enter their questions as well. Let me take you back to the time, like just before you got to know about Masters Union. You said that the pandemic also influenced your decision of kind of looking at things differently and moving
Yeah.
into a kind of education again, once again.
Yes.
So number one, where did you get to know about Masters Union? Where did you find out? And then, it being new, like nothing was like kind of there's no placements, for example, there's no track record
Right.
to go on. So how did you kind
Right.
of make that decision to trust a new place and kind of go ahead with that?
So for me, it was a twofold process, right? Like the first part was how did I come to know about Masters Union in the
Mm-hmm.
first place was because, like I said, I was looking at getting a management, like I was looking at doing a management program, right?
Okay.
So I used to get a lot of targeted ads, all
Mm-hmm.
across the internet for different programs. And
Mm-hmm.
at that point, I just finished my GMAT
Mm-hmm.
and I was looking at applying to the to ISB's executive MBA
Mm-hmm.
program because I have a considerable amount of experience. So
Mm-hmm.
for me, the executive program would make more sense.
Mm-hmm.
And that's when I came across the targeted ad thing for Masters
Mm-hmm.
Union, and I sort of clicked on that, and
Mm-hmm.
I was intrigued by what I saw. So I went onto LinkedIn, and I found out that one round of admissions was already complete.
Okay. Okay.
So effectively, if I had to be applying, I would be applying for the second round.
Second round.
So
Okay.
I said, okay, I sort of did a little search on LinkedIn, and I found some people that had applied, and they put it in their LinkedIn description or something.
Mm-hmm.
And I got in touch with them to find out, like, hey, is this legit?
Mm-hmm.
Is this another IIPM? I mean, that's just instinctively the first thing that you think of, right? Like,
Mm-hmm.
and I was quite reassured by the I was quite reassured by the transparency of the entire process, because even when I got in touch with a lot of the admissions people from Masters Union, not necessarily students, I was told, like, please ask away, like, just, what do you need to know? Who do you need to talk to? Do you want to talk to the masters themselves? You can. And a lot of industry veterans and
Yeah,
seniors, so to
yeah,
speak,
yeah.
were very happy to just have the conversation. And for me, what sealed the deal was, I mean, okay, these are like senior industry people, and if they're putting their name on the line for what is essentially like the first rollout of the course, this is before the campus had even been built. I said, okay, that's kind of reassuring, right? I spoke to Rupesh as well. He comes with great credentials. Spoke to him. I got all the clarity that I needed to. I on some level, it's still a leap of faith,
Yeah, yeah.
but I was comfortable enough to make that decision. I was reassured. At least the questions that I wanted answers to, I got them all answered. So I was fine.
Got it. Got it. Got it. And then maybe moving on from there, if we could get more into the admissions process itself, like filling your applications, maybe your interview experience, and maybe you could give, say, one or two tips to the people on this call filling out their applications on what to keep in mind for.
So a few things in this regard, while it may not be a one-to-one comparison, because at the time that we applied on the basis of our GMAT and CAT scores, right? Because it was the first year. I believe now there's a MU BART entrance.
Right, right.
Test.
So what the protocol is now, we do the MU BAT for people who don't want to do the CAT, GMAT or GRE, but people who also have those scores can apply with those as well.
Oh, okay. So I applied just like with the GMAT score, and the whole interview process was, I mean, if I remember it, I know that I had to do like a little assignment. I had to do like a little if I had $100 million to invest, what would I. So I just looked at these things as an opportunity to just be really creative and sort of have fun with it. I said I'm not gonna sort of be a little pretentious, or I'm not gonna talk about things I don't know about. I'm gonna let this essay or let this little video submission be very reflective of the things I understand and the things I don't understand, and that's fine. Because I mean, if how do I put it? If I'm not honest about it now, I'm gonna get called out about it sometime a little later. So
exactly.
I just thought that, like, I know what I know, and I'm just gonna go ahead and do my video like that, write my essay like that, give my interview like that. And I think that's what the interviewer also appreciated.
Right. I mean, that's something that we always say, is to bring your most authentic self forward in your application. And I guess that's exactly what you described.
Yeah, I just thought that makes the most sense.
And so then moving on, you kind of are in, you've been selected into the cohort. There's a lot of conversation, and we get a lot of questions about the pre-term assignments that you guys had to do in terms of the drop shipping and the other stuff. So getting into that, how was that experience there?
So because I applied in round 2, right, and that too in round 2 within like T-5 days of the deadline.
So it's almost there.
A lot of the things had already been done. Like a lot of the sort of pre-term assignment groups or whatever had already been formed. So it was like a bunch of us that applied like by round 2, formed the sort of latecomers group, so to speak.
Right.
And but we still had fun. It was a lot of fun. The whole dropshipping experience was fun. For us, it was fun and a little stressful, to be honest, because we there was no precedent, so we didn't know, I mean, is this going to be evaluated? Is this a competition? Like, what on earth is this even? So so for us, it was, besides fun, it was pressure. It was like, oh my god, we need to compete with the rest, before we realized it's not really a competition. But
so we had a conversation with Tapasya yesterday, who was talking about her kind of experience of, I think they'd raised 15 lakhs or something like that within a month.
And Tapasya carried it on for like several months into her time at Masters Union as well.
Yeah. So, okay, kind of moving on from there, that we've talked about the drop shipping, and from what I've understood, Masters Union is quite a front heavy curriculum, in which the, say, first half of the academic experience is loaded with a lot of core courses and a lot of courses in terms of getting skilled in tech, for example. So maybe you could talk about your experience in the first half of at least in terms of the academics at Masters Union. And
Right.
secondly, I assume you're coming from a non-tech background, as you said, you've graduated in
Yep.
humanities. So how is it? This is a huge question that we get for people applying from non-tech backgrounds: is how do we deal with the tech part at Masters Union, and how do we fare with the tech part at Masters Union? So could you give your experiences with those?
So for the first 1 month, maybe like for like the first term or 1.5 months, uh, it can get a little bit overwhelming, right?
Hmm.
I'm not going to sugarcoat it because yeah, I mean, like beyond like after the first 1 week, 1.5 week, you realize the kid gloves sort of come off, right? And with a lot of the curriculum here, it depends on how deeply you want to engage with it,
Hmm. Hmm.
right? The resources are all there, the
Hmm.
professors are all there, and they're very happy to help you. Now, how much you want to get into it is completely on you. It's
Hmm.
not overwhelming in the sense that it's impossible or it's something that's completely out of reach for someone from a non-tech background. I mean, I did it,
Hmm. Hmm.
right?
Hmm.
Prior to coming to Masters Union, I like I knew like 5 things in Excel, in
Hmm.
Microsoft Excel,
Hmm. Hmm.
right? Because I just never had to do it.
Hmm.
It's just something that, I mean, coming from a creative background, it's just
Yeah.
something I
Yeah.
never had to do. Right now, I'm completely fine like running like logistical regressions in
Hmm.
like Python.
Hmm.
I'm
Hmm.
completely fine in my little corner of K9 doing data analysis,
Hmm. Hmm.
and that doesn't come from nowhere, right?
Yeah.
It comes from like sort of learning with your peers. There are obviously people in the cohort who know this, who
Yeah.
are very happy to help you.
Yeah. Yeah.
There's the staff who's like very happy to like do it. You can do little sidebars with them every once a week, and yeah, like catch up with what you don't know.
Get to grips with the basics
Exactly.
as well,
And
right?
that's what I did. I used to like go home after class, and if I didn't understand something, I would just like maybe dive a little bit more into it. Like the
Hmm.
more you get your hands dirty, I think the more comfortable you get.
Hmm.
And
Hmm.
then
Hmm.
once that precedent is set in the first term, or 1.5 terms or whatever, you just carry forward that ethic with you for the remaining
Right.
for
Right.
the remainder of the course, and then it's not intimidating anymore.
Got it. I think you stressed upon a really important point there is that, these courses, you can get super deep into them. You can have faculty and, access to learn more about this stuff. But again, a theme that has been pretty consistent along all our alumni meets has been that, there are many opportunities there. There are 10,000 things happening at Masters Union. It's about you in terms of being proactive and taking that kind of initiative to do whatever you're interested in. Would you kind of agree with that?
So your voice cracked up for a little bit the last part. Could you just repeat that last sentence?
Yeah, sure. What they were saying that at Masters Union, you need to be proactive and take initiative for, how immersed you want to be in one particular
Yeah,
course or any other project or any other kind of thing. It depends on the student. It's not going to be spoon fed exactly to you.
yeah. So if there's one like recurring theme that I sort of found throughout the entire process was the fact that, look, if X, Y, Z is what you need to get the job done in terms of like getting a passing grade and everything, you
Hmm,
can do it. Like it's not impossible.
hmm, hmm, hmm,
And eventually you'll realize that I mean, just meeting the bare minimum, if that is what you want to do, very possible.
hmm,
It's not
hmm,
impossible. If you
hmm,
want to go beyond and sort of engage with that on a more meaningful level, that is also very much possible, and you can also
hmm,
sort of apply the learnings to other disciplines as well. For
hmm, hmm,
example, like to like just take this data analysis example a little further, right? Now for a lot of us in class who say suppose their career goals didn't align with data analysis, you can
hmm,
just do it
hmm.
as any other subject just so you have
Right,
that knowledge,
right.
and you can just be happy with that. But there were a lot of people, groups that I was part of in certain projects, who, even if it's like a marketing project in term 8, right,
Hmm,
if there's
hmm,
something relevant from what you learn in term 1, go ahead, apply that. It's only going to make your project better. It's only going to make you stand out a little
hmm,
better,
hmm.
and that'll only come if you engage with it
Right.
deeper. So
Right. I mean, you
so
have all these tools as well to kind of give you access. Like, say you're learning Python or R, it's not that you have to limit yourself just to the boot camp. You can use that across any course or any use case that you feel is helpful for further projects as well.
absolutely,
Yeah.
absolutely. I think a lot of these things just sound like more intimidating than they actually are.
Hmm. Yeah.
Like, to
Exactly.
be honest, like, I mean, you just look at like a bunch of code and you're like, oh my god, how am I going to do this? But
Hmm.
once you start understanding the building blocks of anything, really,
Hmm.
it's not intimidating anymore.
Yeah, for sure.
Yeah.
So before I get into the second half of your Masters Union experience, which would be more say tailored, tailored curriculum, electives, industry immersion,
Hmm.
I'm going to ask you about, I assume just wanted to ask you, were you in the hostel at your time there at Masters Union?
So because I applied in round two, by the time I applied there, the hostel was full. So
Mm.
I shared an apartment with three other people. However, I spent a lot of time in the hostel.
Okay.
I spent like nights in the hostel.
No,
It
so
was
I
very
mean, even as someone who's kind of lived close by in an apartment, and it'll
Mhm.
be pretty unique to talk about your experience because everyone else we've spoken about has been in the hostel. But
Right.
could you talk to us about like student life, managing your life in your apartment vis-a-vis studying or vis-a-vis even other things, about student engagement like clubs or committees or other interventions. If you could talk a bit about that aspect at Masters Union as well.
So interestingly, a lot of the I'm gonna call this like extracurricular stuff, right? A
Yeah,
lot
yeah,
of
yeah,
this
sure.
extracurricular stuff follows the same principle that the academics follow, in the sense that how deeply you want to
Mm,
engage with it is going to determine the experience that you want to have. If you want to just attend the cultural events as like, I have to attend it because it's a Diwali party or whatever,
mm, mm,
you can
mm,
go ahead and do that.
mm,
If you want to be proactive and just organize, a lot of like events, and you want to do you want to take part in all the club events,
mm,
the
mm,
marketing
mm,
event and the fintech event, and you want to, and there were people that do that, right?
mm,
Fair enough, because that's going to sort of enhance your experience. The academics and the projects are not that time consuming and overwhelming that you don't have time to do anything else,
mm,
right? The balance is up to you. I mean, of course, there are times when it's like, project submission day and it's like the last day and then overnight. It's almost a cliche at this point, right? For like
yeah, yeah,
MBA classrooms. That's there. That has
yeah,
to be there, right? That's
yeah.
an integral part of the experience. But there's also a lot of downtime. There's also time for, work, play, everything in between. So
So
uh,
people, as you said, how committed you are to that particular thing, you can get engaged with that.
yeah.
How was your experience? Were you a part of any club or a committee or anything? What did you do?
Yeah,
At
it was
that?
interesting. I was part of the marketing club,
Hmm.
but I mean, part of the marketing club in terms of just being an organizer for the
Okay.
club or whatever. But part of every other club's event as well.
Got it.
Whether it was the innovation lab, or whether
Yeah.
it was a fintech club, just sort of helping people brainstorm on
Hmm.
ideas, or
Hmm.
helping them conduct the event, or just even taking part in uh, all the other peripherals of student life was
Hmm.
quite interesting.
No, I mean, I think that's, as you said, an integral part of the MBA experience is people do often, we see them getting heavily invested in, say, consulting club events or, even
Yeah.
competitions as well. So what we kind of look at, and I think this is a theme going to be carried on into the next question is, and someone's just kind of put that in about internship experience. So the second half of your kind of academic experience, the
Mm.
last 8 months, let me say, was
Right.
more tailored curriculum. You could choose electives from different tracks as well
Right.
as do more industry immersive programs. So, could you give us what you did and what your experience was with the second half of Masters Union in terms of even looking at electives? How did you kind of did you want to look at a lot of courses in one track or split your kind of courses across several tracks? What did you kind of look at?
So I wanted to push myself as far out of my comfort zone as was possible.
Hmm.
Right. I said, I've come from this background and I have this experience. Uh, to double down and study the same things as a very sort of straight jacketed objective is going to be doing a disservice to my time at Masters Union.
Hmm.
So
Hmm.
I
Hmm.
thought, I have the opportunity to just learn
Anything you
like
want.
anything
Yeah.
I want to, right? Like from like PEVC stuff to like securities to like options
Hmm.
trading.
Hmm.
So I said, why not? I mean, I don't, I don't really know any of this.
Hmm.
Why not learn it, right? So I'm gonna pick my subjects like that. Also, with the knowledge that across industries, what you major in particularly, or what you specialize in, from the people that I've spoken to and my own lived experiences, these things matter very little. right? Unless of course it's like, unless of course it's like an XLRI, which specifically is an MBA about, like, for example, HR,
Right.
and it's ultra into that. Like a PGP program in technology and business management is just that. Within that umbrella, straight jacketing yourself too much is, I mean, it didn't seem like the best thing for me to do. So I just picked subjects. I mean, this is how I picked electives across a gamut of different uh, sectors, or spheres or whatever. So that's what I did in terms of my industry immersion experience. I wanted an internship at a in a sector or in an industry that I have not worked in.
Worked with. Got it.
So I applied to Virtusa, right? With concerning IT consulting and things like that. So that's what I did. I did that for like 2 months, 2.5 months, I think was I interned, right? I did that for 2.5 months, and at the end of that, I realized I didn't want to do this. I mean, it's not something that I wanted to do long term, but I was happy for the experience, and I just got to see another uh, industry from the inside.
Got it.
So
Got it.
that was my second half, starting with the industry immersion and ending on to electives.
So I mean, yeah, I think that's what you kind of touched on is something that we're seeing now as well, more of a, like in our admissions as well, kind of given our popularity has grown with our results having been announced as well. We're seeing people who are applying with let's say different use cases that they want to take out of Masters Union. Some people are looking at it as a specific, like MBA, I'll get placed at a particular place. I'd want to concentrate my academics in this track, so kind of become specialized there. Some people are coming in it and looking at, they're entrepreneurs and seeing how they can incubate and accelerate their ventures. And some people are now even, 15, 20, 25 years of experience. They're applying just to see, okay, where is the academics at, or just as a kind of different experiences these people do. So what we're seeing is that Masters Union is definitely being looked at as like a plug and play kind of experience for whatever they want out of that platform these days. Okay, so going ahead, I'll just go and look at some of the questions that are coming in on the chat. Are you able to hear us, Keith?
Yes, I am. Sorry, my dog was crying.
Oh, it's all right. Okay, so people have asked about the one-on-one mentorship / shadow program. I think that's a big element of Masters Union as well in terms of mentorship. So could you talk more about that?
So the mentor that I had assigned to me was from the advertising and media landscape, the media space, who had also made the transition into a more sort of management focused role, starting from a copywriter, much like I was. So that was interesting. Like, he completely understood my background, my reason for my reason for doing this in the first place. Because a lot of the time, a question that I'm asked by people across the board is, man, why are you doing an MBA? Like really, what are you going to get out of it? Like, what is? And it became hard to justify, to people, like, beyond a point. Not because it's a hard thing to justify, but simply because there's no reference point that I can have for that conversation. Right? There's no one who's shared a similar experience or something like that. The master that I was assigned was very interesting because he sort of, he could understand my reasons for doing it. So the discussion that I could have with him was much more evolved. And I used to have discussions with him while we set it formally for every 2 weeks as a recurring calendar sort of event. He was also approachable for, whenever I had a dilemma, like when I had the offer from Virtusa, like, I called him up and I was like, sir, listen, I'm not sure. Should I take this? Should I do it? I don't know. And he's just like, yeah, man, don't stress. Like, what are you worried about? It's 2.5 months. At the most, you like it or you don't like it. Like, I mean, it's not the end of the world, and what I really appreciated was that he was really candid. He didn't mince words. When I told him about, that I want to do an internship, his first sentence to me was, why do you want to do an internship? It's useless. Just start something. And I was like, okay, that's quite forward of you. So, but that's the kind of discussion that we had. Beyond the point, I didn't know if I was talking to like a friend of mine or if I was talking to an industry veteran, but it was interesting. It was really, really good.
And I guess the same theme of being proactive also applies for mentorship, right? Like it depends on your interpersonal skills. It depends on you kind of reaching out to the mentor and being like, okay, let's have these discussions, rather than,
Yeah.
again, a spoon-fed kind of mechanism of, hey, here is your mentor, and they will be mentoring you at these intervals, these times. That's not something that's kind of too structured
Yeah,
that way.
yeah. And I mean, and I think here there's also like a bunch of intangibles that come into play. While
Hmm,
of course I had the kind of mentor with the kind of temperament that I did,
hmm,
it would be foolish to expect every mentor to be like this, right?
got it.
I mean, obviously people have their own professional engagements, they have their own ways of, having a student mentor relationship. So I guess that's something to be mindful of, even in terms of giving them space, or in terms of, you
Right, of
putting too
course.
much on them or too much expectation on them. Like they're
Hmm,
just a mentor. They're not here to
hmm,
solve every single problem that you have. They may be
right,
here to guide you with their lived experiences. So uh, absolutely it pays to be proactive,
got it.
but within
Within,
informal
yeah,
hours.
you're anyway talking to such a pretty, say, busy professional, so
Exactly,
you need to kind of,
which is a pretty big plus in
yeah,
any way. So
yeah,
yeah.
got it, got it. So then kind of tailing our conversation towards the end of your master's union experience,
Mhm.
you did these electives, and finally the kind of placement cycle happens where,
Mhm.
you're working and kind of going ahead and getting placed. So maybe talk us through placement prep, and maybe kind of, I know it's a stressful and anxious time for a lot of people. So
Yeah.
how was the vibe then, and how did, eventually when you did get placed, and then maybe just kind of walk us through your journey there.
So at the top, when we gave in our preferences for placements and things, one of the things that I
Hmm,
knew I wanted to get, like one of the spaces I knew I wanted to get into, was the fintech space.
hmm, hmm.
It's something that I was excited by. It's something that it's an area that I'm really
Yeah,
excited about,
yeah.
right? And within the fintech space, I said I'm going to apply to a bunch of companies. There were a lot of fintech companies that were coming in for placement to Masters Union. Quite fortunately for me, Razorpay being chief among them.
Hmm, hmm,
And so I would send out my applications here. In terms of prep, of course, we had a bunch of sessions with the career services team where they told us how to tailor our CVs to not just the place we're applying to, but the role we're applying to as well. Just to highlight certain bits that may be relevant for that role.
hmm, hmm,
Um, so I mean, uh, all in all, I may have made like, I don't know, some 20, 25 versions of my CV,
hmm,
just sort of, does this work? Does this work? Or bouncing that off with my mentor,
hmm,
things like that. Um, so the CV prep is one thing. We also had an interview prep
hmm.
where we had this external person from a career agency who we spoke to, who would do this mock interview,
Got
and
it.
they would really turn up the heat in this mock interview,
Right, right,
sort of
right.
give you like this really trial by fire kind of vibe. And I guess when you do those things, you just become a little bit more confident.
Hmm, hmm,
And then when actual sort of interviews happen, because typically everyone's going to be interviewing with one or two companies, if not
hmm,
more,
hmm, hmm,
right?
hmm,
But based on their preference. But as soon as I guess that first one is done, or even within the same company, once that first round is sort of done,
hmm,
you feel a sense of calm, or just like a certain sense of reassurance in your story. That's very important. Of course, they a lot the career services team helps you build your story,
hmm,
highlight what's unique about you, how to avoid falling in like certain traps. It's not so much of a here's what to say and here's what not to say,
hmm, hmm.
but it's more like, hey, here's what's special and unique about you. So find ways to talk about that.
Got it. Got it.
So so that was how the placement prep went.
Prep aspect went.
uh,
And something I'm very curious to know about is, as you said, it's been, you got placed after that, and it's been 2 3 months of you
right,
working. And
right.
so, in a fintech space at Neo, what does a senior brand manager do? Like, what does your day-to-day work look like? And what do you kind of, can you walk people through
Right.
what this role looks
So Niyo is a fintech company that
like?
has like four products,
Hmm,
right? The marquee product among them being Niyo X, which is a Neo bank just like Fi or Jupiter, Open or these things. Now, what like Neo X is doing pretty well in terms of like customer base. I think they have the largest customer base, and because unlike Fi or Jupiter or something like that, they also have other products. Right, they also have like Neo X is the banking product. There's Neo Global, which is a forex card. There's a wealth management app. There's a blue collar salary management app. So because all of this is started in such a short time, in terms of this, Neo X has started in like the last calendar year, right? They found themselves spread thin across all their different products, across their banking product, across their wealth management, and whatever else. So they now feel the need to sort of have a stronger corporate level brand identity, right? Like this is Neo, and within that, these are the different products that you have, to avoid a Paytm like scenario where 95% of the people don't know the difference between a Paytm wallet and a Paytm payments bank and a Paytm, like, they have like multiple other things. The whole thing is just confusing. So they want to sort of preempt that and establish a larger brand presence across all kinds of media. So that's across like digital marketing, across TVCs, at sporting events coming up in the year, across sponsorships, opportunity, any kind of opportunity for branding, where we can sort of tell the Neo story.
Right.
Is what I am doing. So my role here is to make sure that the entire brand experience and strategy, right from the unboxing of the product to the experience that you have online when you come across it through ads, when you come across it through any media, is all telling you the same story, and it's helping build that brand narrative. So that's my job here.
So it's like an end-to-end kind of, you're taking care of the story across all these four. Obviously across the bigger corporate identity as well as these four products.
Yes. So the second part of your question was, what's my day-to-day like?
Yeah.
So my day-to-day like is doing a call in the morning with the people from digital marketing, finding out how the numbers are doing in terms of our presence across the internet, because we're a digital bank, so the internet's obviously the primary mode of communication. Finding out what the numbers are like, finding out customer statistics in terms of active users and active users, how do we reach them, finding out also talking to content creators to develop video assets, talking to production houses for film production or content creation and things that we want to do. And that's one part of the day. The second part of the day is then talking to like the product team, right? In terms of like what's coming on the app, or what is the user feedback saying, what are people liking and not liking, so strategizing with the product team to make sure that like the product team is also aligned with what we know from our customer insights. That's what my day looks like.
Got it. That's very, very interesting, if I must say. Yeah. But so, looking at like, the kind of very packed job that you're doing, would you say that there are some kind of 2-3 skills, or not even 2-3, some skills at Masters Union that you had learned, or some experiences that you'd had that has better prepared you to do this job?
Definitely. I mean, the whole idea of fintech, right? I mean, choosing this as so I would consider myself someone who was finance averse to before joining Masters Union. Learning how to sort of engage with it helped me develop an appreciation for this space, which helped me. I mean, the testament to that is the fact that I wanted a career in this space, right? So in terms of skills that I learned at Masters Union that I'm using right now, definitely that sort of, it's not, I mean, I don't know if this is a skill, but that sort of, drive to sort of engage with something to understand it more.
Got it.
At my previous job at an ad agency, while of course we did do digital marketing, I was always creative, and the typical advertising sort of creative guy, where I didn't really care about the whole SEM, SEO aspect of it, the whole digital marketing aspect of it, because I was the creative guy. Now I understand that that's all part of the same story.
Yeah.
So we had marketing courses that spoke about these things, that sort of helped me understand, okay, you know what, it's not like it's not enough for me to just generate this beautiful piece of content or whatever it is. I need to understand how this that's end to
Other
end.
side works, right? I mean,
So
learning about that might have made you better at writing, or
of
made you
course,
better at writing.
and that's something I learned in terms of like the basics at Masters Union itself. So
Mm,
and also what I spoke about earlier in terms of how it you learn something in a particular subject and you learn how to apply it elsewhere. So
yeah, yeah.
in terms of like, because I get like raw data on like numbers,
Mm,
right,
mm,
about how things are moving, I can draw those inferences myself,
mm, mm,
right? I can look at how numbers go up and down right now
mm,
of like our user bases in
mm.
terms of engagements and stuff like that, and I can identify already what needs to be done to target certain people.
Right, right.
It almost feels like a superpower at this point, but
Right.
like
I mean, we, kind of looking at your example of four products, you're not going to look at four different dashboards, right? So you're going to have some synthesis of data, and that's the experience that I've seen that Masters Union students have. Like when they're being placed at, let's say, mid to senior level of leadership positions, where they're
yeah,
looking at or being at the intersection of two teams, as you are. So
yeah,
the kind of information that you're getting is also not just in one specific or specialized vertical. You're looking at multiple things at the same time.
yeah.
So kind of synthesize that information also, and as you said, draw inferences from it is must, as you said, is a superpower that you might have kind of picked up at Masters Union. So I mean, that's great to hear. I think we've kind of covered most of your Masters Union journey. And if there are any questions that you have, burning questions that you want to ask Keith that are related to his experience, feel free to do so. But maybe I could ask you about like maybe I could ask you about three things, and then if there are any other further calls, we can keep this as the last question. But if there are any other further conversations, we can keep attend to those questions though. But I'll ask you these last three things. So the first is your favorite course or favorite class. The second would be your favorite professor, and the third would be your favorite moment, whether that's in class or whether that's outside of class, in the hostel, in your apartment, wherever.
These questions are almost not fair, but
Okay.
my favorite course, it's hard to pick just one. Honestly, I mean, I'll have to pick like two or three. But if I have to really pick one, I would say term one, the finance course.
Okay.
Uh, Introduction to Modern Financial Accounting, it was called.
Hmm. Hmm. Hmm.
Sounds like boring as hell. And if anyone of the attendees has done, has a commerce or accounting background, you might wonder why this was my favorite course. But the truth is, like I said, like I'm not overstating how finance averse I was,
Hmm.
right? And sort of coming into this, the way we had Professor Marisetti, who explained things really, really well,
Right, right, right.
who sort of helped me develop an appreciation for a field which I just sort of wrote off, was
Hmm.
like a game changer for me.
Hmm. Hmm.
So definitely
That,
that one, for the impact that it's had on me. That's
hmm.
that's pretty much the only reason.
Yeah, yeah. I mean, it's personal to you, these
Yeah,
answers.
yeah,
Yeah.
it's not, yeah. Uh, my favorite professor, this one's really tough because I mean, there have just been so many, though. We've, like, besides all the masters that we've had across different subjects and across all the terms, I think genuinely really like special shout out to Professor Akash, Bhupesh, and Nandini, like, who are the
Hmm.
in-house
Yeah, yeah. In-house masters. Yeah.
masters, the in-house faculty. Because while masters come and teach a particular subject that they have expertise in a particular term, the in-house faculty are there as sort of constants for the entire journey.
Hmm.
So they're very approachable and they have the context on your story, on
Right.
understanding, or on whatever, uh, and that's it's like a luxury to have, that they're so approachable. So definitely the in-house faculty, for just how approachable and knowledgeable they are.
Hmm. 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 And then the last one was your favorite moment, whether it's in class or outside class, could be anything that kind of you take away as, or you remember first when you think about your time.
Yeah, these are actually so like there are so many.
Hmm.
It's really hard to pick just one.
So just take a couple, or just let us know.
Okay.
Top two, three.
The like one interesting one was we had these skill sharing sessions that were P2P learning basically,
Okay.
where each person would sort of teach something to the class that they were good or that they were good at or what they knew. And I think I was the first to volunteer for that.
Hmm.
So I did like a presentation on how to give presentations.
Hmm. Hmm.
This was like in the first month of college. That first
Hmm.
awkward month when like
Right, right,
you don't
right,
really
right.
know everybody and everyone's trying to figure out whatever.
Hmm. Hmm.
And I just did that, and that was my way of sort of breaking the ice with like 63 other people. And it was really cool. It was really cool because it set the ball rolling for everybody else to also sort of uh, you know share and collaborate. So that was interesting. Definitely a lot of fun.
Hmm.
The parties in the hostel were insane.
Hmm. Hmm.
So that was
Hmm.
that was a lot of fun. So really, I mean, there's no one moment. It's just
A mixture
a
of
mixture of
different
yeah,
things.
yeah, yeah.
So, I mean, clearly from your conversation, I can see that it was a mix of both. Again, intense academic pressure, a mixture of more practical workshop style
Yeah.
engagements, and then you downtime as well for people to party or do whatever they feel like or they want to be
Yeah.
engaged in. So that seems that we've kind of covered most of your kind of journey. Is there anything else that you felt that we've not spoken about that a potential applicant should know, or do you think it's pretty uh, summative?
I mean, if I'm going by the questions in the chat, right?
Hmm.
Um, let's see. Could you shed some light on your professional background? I mean, I did that. I've done like everything under the sun.
Hmm.
What project, dropship, etc., freaked you out, and later by doing it, you felt that you are unique after that? Oh, I think there were the data analysis classes with Professor Tushar Jaruhar.
Yes, yes.
That I mean, they freak me out simply because I've not
Hmm.
done something like this before. Like our entire exam or final test or whatever was the professor came to class and gave us this like really heavy data set,
Hmm.
and he just wrote one word on the board. He just wrote the word "do"
Wow.
and he
Fantastic.
left. And everyone's like, "What are we supposed to do?" And he's like, "Do anything. This is the data set. You know the software. Find
Hmm.
something interesting in this data and just like make a dashboard, make a PPT, make like do a song and dance, do whatever you want. This is the data."
Hmm. Hmm.
Like that
Hmm.
was the exam.
Hmm.
And he's like, and we're like, okay, how long do we have? And he's like, y'all have like 4 days.
Hmm.
And
Hmm.
we were like, what? So, that was really interesting because we're just given a data set, and the question is just like, do
Yeah.
something with this data now. Because, and then later on, when at first we were like, how stupid is this? But then later on, we realized that when you actually go to work at a job, no one is going to give you the data and say, this is what I want out of it.
Yeah. Yeah.
This is the question. They're just going to give you the data and say, hey, this is data,
Hmm. Hmm.
you know? And we realized that, oh my God, this was so relevant and pertinent to what we're going to be, so that was,
Doing it.
I mean, I hope that answers your question, Adar. Any internship experience, spoke about that. My interview with the master was fairly straightforward.
Hmm.
Really, I mean, it wasn't difficult. Spoke about my one-on-one experience, hindrances that you faced during your MU journey and how you overcame them. I mean, whenever I found the subjects difficult, out of reach, I spoke to people in class that were smarter than me in that particular subject, and our cohort was amazing. Everyone was really willing to help. Uh,
I think a big thing is they're pretty diverse, right? They also come from different
very very
backgrounds.
diverse. If it was a finance problem, you go and talk to the CAs. If it's like a operations problem, there are enoug engineers. It's an MBA
Right.
classroom. There are just so many people you can talk to. There are so many resources that are available, that whatever hindrances that I faced, that's how I got it sorted. Currently working, have an experience of 1.5 years. Can I get into master's degree? And of course, I mean, there were a fair number of freshers as well.
Hmm. Hmm.
Um,
What are the upsides of Masters Union along with aspects like FANG? How credible do they view it as opposed to say people from old IIMs with a lot of FANG companies? Because I know a lot of people that work in these companies. The institute that you come out of doesn't really matter as much as your story and your skill set matters,
Right.
right? So the question then becomes, join an institute really that helps you add more credence to your story, which for me was Masters Union. So, I mean, at the end of the day, like a lot of FANG and beyond, actually, a lot of companies have now moved towards what's the story, or what are you about as a person?
Yeah. Yeah.
And your choice of institution should be an institution that sort of helps you, pad that question as much as you can, really. I mean, that's something that I would say. How intense are the interviews at Masters Union? Are you talking about the admission interview?
I assume they're talking about the yes.
Mine wasn't intense. I mean, it depends on what you mean as intense. If you mean like, do they grill you or something like that? That hasn't been my experience.
I
Though
think it differs by masters. Some masters are, let's
it
say, a bit
differs by
more.
masters, but
Yeah.
again, Anjali, and this is just maybe general like advice for interviews and beyond. If you have your story straight, right? If you have your, let's say, USP, or your focus, or your brand story, let's call it that, straight, it won't be a problem whether it's an admission interview or a job interview. They just want to make sure that you're not faffing.
Yeah.
Right, that's the only thing.
Yep. Essentially that. Yeah. So Gaurav, okay, I'll ask Gaurav's question, but he's saying, what are the things we can work on in the upcoming 20 days before selection? So I hope you know that our deadline is on the 23rd. So that's about 8 days away. And after that, you'll have, entrance exams. But any kind of tip? I guess you've already talked about this, but maybe some more tips on admissions, maybe how to prepare your profile before getting selected.
I think go over, of course, your resume, right? Go over everything that you've done in life that you think is worthy to talk about. This is again your story.
Mm-hmm.
The only thing that is going to take you forward beyond your knowledge and beyond the admission test or anything like that, because that's objective knowledge. You either know something or you don't know something. So let's say that's taken care of. When it comes to you and when it comes to your story and your experience, find a way to talk about that in an interesting way. Okay. And once you get in, do interesting things that at the end of the year you can talk about, right? If you say that you did a course in technology and business management and those were your electives, 70, 80 other people also did the same things, but if you say that you did this course, within it you found, at like on certain projects you did maybe a little bit more, you had ideas for starting things up, you have project work that you can showcase. Now that's you, that's only your story. 70 people can't lay claim to that. And that is what is going to set you apart. I think a lot of times when we hear about interview prep, you hear a lot of people saying, what is your story, and find a way to package your experience. But I think beyond a point, it also helps to just have good experiences, create opportunities for yourselves to just have good experiences, and it's not impossible. So in the next 20 days, of course, it's not like you're going to experience something magical in the next 5 days, but find a way to talk about something interesting for your interview coming up on the 23rd or something like that, to package everything that you've done. Once you're in, use the opportunity to just experience everything and take it from there. And then when you have later interviews for like your industry immersion and your job and stuff like that, you'll have a good story to sell.
Yep. I mean, last questions about the AICTE accreditations, and we have a lot of literature on that on our website. And to be honest, we don't even want to go down that direction because everything we've spoken about will not have been possible given those kind of boundaries. But anyway, I think that kind of highlights and covers most people's questions. So just to kind of wrap things up, I would like to thank Keith for the past hour or so that he spent with us. I think it's been really informative. I have learned a lot about, someone really, let's say, we have many people who are engineers or people from a commerce background that are applying, but people from, say, a different background and how their experiences has been in masters unit has been pretty enlightening. So thank you for the last hour, and thanks to everyone else who joined the call. Just again, last announcement from my end is that our deadline is on the 23rd, so do complete your applications soon before this. And I hope that this was helpful to everyone.
Yeah,
Yes,
I
Hitesh, you
hope
were
it
saying
was. I
something.
hope it was helpful. Yeah.
Great. Okay.
Right.
So thanks everyone. Take care and stay
Thank
safe.
you.
Thank you, Keith.
Thanks.